everybody, and welcome to Vinyl Treasures. I'm your host, Johnny G, John Galindo, coming to you live each and every Saturday, only here on Top Shelf Oldies. Want to welcome you to the Vinyl Treasure Show, the April 14th, 2018 Vinyl Treasure Show. Glad you can join Johnny G on this weird day. Was 80-something degrees this afternoon. Now it's like down to 40 degrees or 45 degrees, supposed to possibly have snow tonight. Such weird weather, but forget all that. Sit back for the next 2 hours. Got some cool vinyl 45s out of my collection, and how I remember hearing that song that we just played, not when it came out, but when I used to tune in to the Time Capsule show on WFUV. This was a theme song that they used to use, and it was also played by the DJ that gets credit on the label, Mr. Alan Freed, and I'm sure he played it when he was on his W-Wins program back in 1956, and you can hear him in the background. Hear Alan Freed there on that 45, but it's really Big Al Sears on saxophone. He wrote it along with Charles E. Calhoun, and that is an alias for Mr. Jesse Stone. We opened up tonight from April 56 with Alan Freed and his band. It's on the Choral label Right Now. So right now we're going to get to some vocal 45s out of my collection, and we started off here with this singer from Brooklyn, New York. He signed with Thomas Robinson's Atlas label in late 1956, and he was just 14 years old when he signed with the label and released two on the Atlas label with a New Jersey group backing him up, and he had two previous releases on the Atlas label, and they were known as the Parakeets, but we're playing the B-side of his second release. Let's open up from April 1957. Give a listen to Mr. Vic Donna, backed by the Parakeets on Atlas, with his cool tune. It's called Count the Tears.
Count the tears I've been crying for you.
How much do I miss you? How much do I need you? Just count the tears I've been crying for you. If there were no oceans, there now would be oceans. Just count the tears I've been crying for you. Dear, I had your love and I was happy then. Please give me back your love and make me happy again. How much do I love you? How much do I need you? Just count the tears I've been crying for you. How much do I want you? Just count the tears I've been crying for you.
Oh, count the tears I've cried for you.
Cool tunes to open up the vocal portion of the Vinyl Treasure Show. Hiss and all on that 45. Some of the Atlas 45s pressed on recycled vinyl, so sorry about that, but that's the way it comes. April 57, Vic Donna with the Parakeets on the Atlas label. That's the B-side of the 45 of his second release, song entitled Count the Tears. As we continue here for a Saturday evening on the Vinyl Treasure Show, just wanted to hear something up-tempo by this great group out of Harlem, New York. I just posted this one up on my Facebook wall. You can check it out. They had so many great releases on High Weiss's Old Town label between 1954 and 1961. 18 releases with basically two great lead singers, that being Herman Curtis and Milton Love. Take your pick. But here's the A-side to their fifth release. It features Herman Curtis on lead. Let's send this one out to listener Matthew Leach. His favorite record by the Solitaires, April 1955. The Solitaires on Old Town with their tune called What Did She Say?
Zana, Zana, Zana. What she say? Ooh, ooh, bang, bang, bang. What she say? Ooh, ooh, bang, bang, bang. What she say? Ooh, ooh, bang, 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 bang. What she say? Well, what she say? Ooh, ooh, bang, bang, bang. What she say? Ooh, ooh, bang, bang, bang. What she say? Ooh, ooh, bang, 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 bang. What she say? She said, hold me, pretty baby, and never let me go, because my love for you, all the time. What she say? Ooh, ooh, bang, bang, bang. What she say? Ooh, ooh, bang, bang, bang. What she say? Ooh, ooh, bang, 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 bang. What did she say? Ba-dee-doo-wop, a-doo-doo-wop, ba-dee-doo-wop, a-doo-doo-wop, ba-dee-doo-wop, a-doo-doo-wop, a-doo-doo. What did she say? Do-do-wop, 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 do-do-wop. What did she say? She said, hold me, baby, and never let me go, because my love for you, all the time. What she say? Ooh, ooh, bang, bang, bang. What she say? Ooh, ooh, bang, bang, bang. What she say? Ooh, ooh, bang, 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 bang. What did she say? Ba-diddly-doo-wop, I love you so. Ba-diddly-doo-wop, want you to know. Ba-diddly-doo-wop, please don't go, Lord, I love you so. Hold me, baby, never, never let me go, because my love for you, Zana, 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 all the time. Ooh, ooh, bang, bang, bang. What she say? Ooh, ooh, bang, bang, bang. What she say? Ooh, ooh, bang, 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 bang. What did she say? Darling, Zana, what did she say?
Yeah, those are the great Solitaires on Highwise's Old Town record label. Featured it on the Old Style Old Town. I think that also comes out on the, I guess we can call the Newer Style Yellow label, but that's the Old Style there, April 1955. The Solitaires, Herman Curtis on lead. What Did She Say is the name of the tune. I remember when I went to a flea market, I think at the Hudson River Museum in Yonkers, New York. They had a flea market sometime back in the early 80s. Found some cool 78s, and I remember that was one of the first 78s, or not one of the first 78s I purchased, but I thought it was cool getting that record on a 78 back then in the 80s. Anyway, John G. babbling on here. Let's continue. We count down the music chronologically here on the 50s and early 60s edition of the Vinyl Treasure Show, and I have lots of flip sides from last week's Vinyl Treasure Show. Actually, the next four records I'm featuring are from last week's show, and the first one is by the Spaniels, who are from Gary, Indiana. They had 20 releases on Vivian Carter's VJ label. I featured the A-side to their fifth, a cool tune called Don't You Go, released in March of 1955. Now, the B-side was sitting in the can for a while. The group recorded this song December of 1953, but it made it on the B-side of Don't You Go, which came out in March of 1955. Let's give it a spin here with Pookie Hudson on lead. These are the Spaniels on VJ, and I'm playing it on red vinyl. Looks really cool. Those of you tuned in to the webcam, these are the Spaniels with a B-side. It's called Doo-Wah.
Oh, gee, you broke my heart. Loved you from the start. heart. What am I to do? Still in love with you. Oh, I love you so. Never let you go. Never let you go. Never let you go. Oh no, no, baby. Oh gee, baby, you belong to me, baby. Oh, I love you so. Ooh, never let you go. No, won't let you go. Now I cry. Oh, you told a lie. Yes, you broke my heart. Now we have to part. Now we have to part. Now we have to part. I have to go. Yes, baby. Your baby G. Oh gee. Your baby G. It's not right for you to quit me. Oh, your baby G. I love you. Love you so you know. Your baby I do, I love you so. Oh, please, please hear my plea, baby. I love you so. I love you so. Love you so, baby. Oh, gee. Baby, oh baby, you belong to me, baby. Oh, baby, yes, I love you so, dear. I love you so. Oh, I love you so. Gee, I need you.
B-sides here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. That's the fifth release for the great Spaniels. Pookie Hudson on lead, March 1955. Vivian Carter's VJ record label. I featured it on red vinyl. Looks so cool if you can get those Spaniel 45s on red vinyl. They're not cheap, that is for sure, but those are the Spaniels with doo-wah. Pookie co-wrote that tune. As we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show, here's another flip side I played from last week by the Lamplighters. I played the B-side to their 6th of 13 on Sid Nathan's Federal label, and thing called Ride Jockey Ride. Featured Thurston Harris on lead, and he's doing lead on the intended A-side, written by Rudy Toombs. We go to May of 1954. These are the Lamplighters on Federal, and their tune called Salty Dog.
Some like sugar, some like spice, some like the gravy when it's bound up now. Oh, that salty dog, that salty dog, that salty dog, sure got the best of me. Wabba-doo, wabba-doo, wab, wabba-doo, wabba-doo, wab, wabba-doo, wabba-doo, wab, wabba-doo, wabba-doo, wab. Well, it's time for my dinner, but the rabbit jumped over the fence. My woman left this morning, and I haven't seen her since. Oh, that salty dog, that salty dog, that salty dog, sure got the best of me. Well, I love my baby, wouldn't do her wrong. Never thought that a woman ever leave my happy home. Oh, that salty dog, that salty dog, that salty dog, sure got the best of me. Well, I bought myself a shotgun, hung it up on the wall. Somebody came a-calling, took my shotgun, woman and all. Oh, that salty dog, that salty dog, that salty dog, sure got the best of me. But when it comes to balling, I've balled everywhere. Skinned myself a tiger, even through a grizzly bear.
Oh, that salty dog. That salty dog. That salty dog. Sure got the best of me. Wobble, wobble, wobble. Ah. 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 Wobble, wobble, wobble.
Yeah, those are the Lamplighters, May 1954 release there. The Lamplighters and Sid Nathan's federal label, that is the Silvertop Federal for you collectors out there. Salty Dog is the name of the tune. Thurston Harris, the lead singer of the Lamplighters. I don't know if he's on all the sides. I don't think he's on all the sides, but the majority of the sides, though. But you don't want to have any salty dogs. I like my hot dogs charred on the grill. Barbara likes them darkened, too, with that golden spicy brown mustard. That's what I like. Johnny G babbling on with food. We don't want to talk about food. We want to talk about 45s. They also played the B-side of this next 45. The group out of Harlem, New York. Their 6th of 8 on Monty Bruce's Bruce label. Played the B-side. It was called Oobity Oobity Ooh by the Great Harp Tones with Willie Winfield on lead. Now, the intended A-side is a standard from 1947, done by so many groups through the years. Probably the biggest hit for this song was a version by Lenny Welch, I think back in 63. But this is an excellent version, too, featuring Winnie Winfield on lead. We go to November 1954, the Great Harp Tones on Bruce, and their rendition of the song Since I Fell for You.
You are gone and left me all alone. You took my love and made me leave my home.
Well, you made me leave my happy home. You took my love and now you're gone. Since I fell for you,
Fell for you.
love brings such misery and pain. I guess I'll never be the same since I fell for you. Well, it's too bad and it's too sad that I'm in love with you. You love me, then you snub me. But what can I do? I'm still in love with you. Well, I guess I'll never see the light. I get those blues most every night since I fell for you.
Those are the Great Harp Tones. Winnie Winfield on lead. The Harp Tones on the Bruce label, their rendition of the tune Since I Fell for You. That one there, November 1954. For you collectors out there, originals, have to say on the label, manufactured by New Way Enterprises, and also have 1650 Broadway. And also to the right, you got to see that Herman Bradley Orchestra. So many copies of that were released. I think Times Square Records, Monty Bruce was still around when Times Square was had those records repressed, a lot of them pressed to be sold in the oldie stores, especially Times Square Records. So you got to be careful, you collectors, for the second presses. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. Hope you're digging on the cool tunes. Let's continue here. And here's one more flip from last week as I played the debut single by this Los Angeles, California group, and you know them. They're called the Meadowlarks. Featured the B-side of their record on RPM. It was called Love Only You. Sounds so much like the Crows' G. And but that was the intended B-side. This is the intended A-side. And Don Julian, he became lead after they left RPM, because he became lead when he signed with the Dootsy Williams and Dutone Records. But the lead singer on the Meadowlarks at this point in 1954 was Ronald Barrett, not Don Julian. So let's go back to January 1954. The Meadowlarks on RPM. This is the A-side. It's called Real Pretty Mama.
Real pretty mama, come on in my door. Do-wop, do-do-do-wop. Real pretty mama, come on in my door. Do-wop, do-do-do-wop. Tell the other girls I don't want them anymore. Do-wop, do-do-do-wop. Hey, pretty mama, fall into my arms. Call me sugar daddy and give me all your charms. You sure look good to me. Yes, you sure look good to me. Baby, you the only one can relieve my misery. Do-wop, do-do-do-wop. Hey, pretty mama, I know we can agree. Everything you got is simply meant for me. We can have some fun. Yes, we can have some fun. When you come to my house, I will never have you run. Do-wop, do-do-do-wop. Style. I pull down the shades and we can play a while. Come on in my door. Yes, come on in my door. Baby, you can have the key so you can come on back some more. Do-wop, do-do-do.
Yes, Warren, got to agree. That definitely is a cool jump there by the Meadowlarks. January 1954, it's on the RPM record label. Real Pretty Mama's the name of the tune. Ronald Barrett, the lead singer on that one, not Don Julian. You collectors out there got to be really careful on the bootlegs on that 45. Don't know if I think the center hole is smaller than the original. There is a way. I don't know if it was a ratio boot or not, but there is a way definitely to check. But that is truly an original, only originals that Johnny G features here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. As we continue, we move into 1955. For this next group, they are out of New Orleans, Louisiana. Initially, they recorded as the Pelicans on the Imperial label in 1954. But then with their next release, in February of 55, they changed their names to the Kids. As we go back to February 55 on Imperial Records, give a listen to the Kids with their tune called, I posted this one up on my Facebook page, you can check it out. It's called Are You Forgetting Me?
Are you forgetting the things you told me, dear? You know that we could share each tear. Oh, now you left me bewildered all alone and Lord, are you forgetting me? You know I love you and I'll never let you go. Yes, I wanna squeeze you, I wanna tease you, and darling, I'll never ever let you go. Are you forgetting the things you told me, dear? You know that we could share each tear. But now you left me bewildered all alone and Lord, are you forgetting me?
My dear.
Rare 45s here for a Saturday evening. Those are the Kids, February 1955. They were first known as the Pelicans. I played that record Chimes here on the Vinyl Treasure Show, but those are the Kids there on Imperial with their tune called Are You Forgetting? I think they have one more on the Post label, a subsidiary of Imperial Records. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening as we continue, and I felt like hearing this next 45 just because I really, really like it. And it's not to say that it was one of my aunt's 45s, but this song really sparked me into becoming a collector of this fine music. I love the great vocals, the wailing sax, the cool beat, and especially looking at the label go round and round. I love this label, and that's why I use it as my logo both on Facebook and my YouTube website. If you go to those sites, you will see a logo of Rama Records, and that was one of the first labels I started collecting, and it's the second of 7 for this group that you know, and it's on George Goler's Rama label. It features Richard Barrett on lead. We go to November 1955. My aunt had this 45, and she played it a lot, but not this copy. Of course, I'm talking about the Valentines. November 55, the Valentines on Rama, and their tune called I Love You, Darling.
I love you, darling. I love you so. I love you, darling. I love you so. I love you, darling. And I won't ever let you go. Never let you go. I need you, baby. I need you so. I need you, baby. I need you so. I need you, baby. And I won't ever
November 1955 release there, the second of 7 on the Rama label, George Goldner's Rama Records. The Valentines there with I Love You Darling, Richard Barrett on lead. What a great sax break in that song. That's Jimmy Wright and his orchestra. It's the follow-up to their, I guess we can call it, New York hit, Lily Mae Bell. Remember, my aunt was teaching me how to dance to that 45. She would play it over and over again. I said, wait, I got to practice this step. Show me how I should do this step. Now, she's going lead. Guys have to lead the girls, although I don't know if that's the case nowadays. Maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. Hope you're digging on the cool tunes here. We are in the year we just finished the year 1955. Let's move into 1956. On last week's show, I played another 45 my aunt exposed me to, as she greatly influenced my musical tastes. And this was a 45 she always wanted to have, but she really never got around to purchasing it. She always would say that they were sold out. I know that some of the record stores, you can actually order the records if they had that big book that you can look through and say, well, I want this record and that record. You can order some of those older titles, and if they were available, you would be able to get them. But I don't think in the 50s a lot of the teens were really understanding that they can do that. But anyway, she did eventually purchase it, but it came on that Rumble album, that cool Rumble album, the Battle of the Groups, the Bop Chords, the Channels, the Love Notes, the Continentals, and that's where she eventually got the record. But last week I played the jump side of this 45. It was called Fine Fine Frame, and I mentioned I was going to play the Killer Ballad. It features dual leads, both Hermit Montgomery and Daniel Hicks, who co-wrote the song, and he's the high tenor that you hear in the background as we go to Bobby Robinson's Whirling Disc Records. Go to November of 1956, the Great Continentals on Whirling Disc. Their tune is called Dear Lord.
Answer me, dear Lord, please answer me. Please hear my plea. Lord, please hear my plea. Send me down someone. Send me down the love of love. Dear Lord, I'm blue. Dear Lord, the love has left me broken hearted. Love left a broken heart. All I do is pray to you, dear Lord, to send me down a love to cherish. Love, love, so true. A love that I can hold forever. Dear Lord, I'll depend on you to help a heart that's very sad. To try to smile again. Laugh and smile again, again. To laugh and smile again. Laugh and smile again, to you, dear Lord. Answer me, answer me, dear Lord.
Well, folks, they don't make songs like that anymore, unfortunately. But those are the Continentals, November 1956, on Bobby Robinson's Whirling Disc record label. All of 10 releases on that label. So that's a label you collectors out there should start collecting. You can get all 10 releases, or is it 11 or so? I don't remember. But anyway, that's the B-side to Fine Fine Frame, their tune called Dear Lord. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening. Let's continue here on this now kind of getting blustery evening, Saturday evening. And don't forget to do your taxes. I finished it, the other day I just mailed my New Jersey non-resident today. So I am all done with the taxes. So now we can play records. And up next, the group from Newport News, Virginia. They formed while in high school and were big admirers of another group from Newport News, Virginia, that being the Five Keys. And you would have thought that too, because they were from the same area. But anyway, they had 3 releases on Phil Rose's Glory label. Their biggest, I guess we can call it, hit was an odd cover of Stormy Weather that they do. I'm sure many of you have heard their version of that, but this is the B-side to their 3rd and final release for the Glory label, and it's an up-tempo written by the lead singer. He goes by the name of Edward Alston. This one from May of 1956. Give a listen to the Leaders on Glory, and their tune is called Lovers. B-sides here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Those are the Leaders. That's the B-side to their final release, their 3rd and final release on the Glory label. Song entitled Lovers. That one there from May 1956. It featured Edward Alston on lead. He also wrote the tune. Now, the other lead that does the ballads, his name is Harry Burton. He did the lead on Stormy Weather. And this group would later on become the Corvairs on the Comet label, if you're familiar with that tune, True True Love. And also they recorded as the West Siders with a release on the Leopard label, also picked up by United Artists, and also releases on the Columbia label as the Corvairs. John G here for a Saturday evening as we continue, and we are in 1956. Here's another flip side from last week, great two-sided 45 on High Weiss's Old Town record label. the debut by the Coeds. I played the jump side called Love You Baby All the Time. Now, the flip side is a killer ballad as we go to High Weiss's Old Town label. They were located at 701 7th Avenue in New York City, and this one features Gwen Edwards on lead, the first of two on Old Town for the Coeds. We go to July 1956. The name of the tune is called I Beg for Your Forgiveness.
I walk alone just to beg your forgiveness. I really didn't mean to be so mean. I walk alone just to say I'm sorry and to please come back, 'cause I walk alone. You made me cry last night and the night before, my darling. I can't seem to laugh anymore. You left me here saying, and now I'm down in shame. So please come back and find me again. I walk alone, all because I need your love. Dear, please come back, 'cause I walk alone. You made me cry last night and the night before, my darling. I can't seem to laugh anymore. You left me here saying, and now I'm down in shame. So please come back and find me again. I walk alone just to say I'm sorry, and please take me back, so I won't walk
That's the first of two for the Coeds. High Weiss's Old Town record label, July 1956. The Coeds with I Beg for Your Forgiveness. That features Gwen Edwards on lead. The other release is also a great two-sided 45. I don't know if it was this one or the other one that has, some of the Old Town, for you collectors out there that run the labels, this is the Ropes label that has like ropes, these two lines of ropes on there. I know they come with straight lines and sometimes kind of some funky variations for sure, but that's the true original, and that's what Johnny G features here on Saturday evenings. Hope you're digging on these cool tunes. We are in 1956. I played this, the A-side. Is it the A-side? I think it was the A-side, I can't remember, of this Morty Kraft 45 on the Selma label. He owned the Selma label. It was from October 56, a song called Wedding Bells, as done by the Victorians. That was the A-side. It featured Bobby Tompkins on lead. Now, the flip side, the B-side, features a different lead. His name is Donnie Shested, and he was previously a tenor for a group known as the Heralds, who had also been the Billy Dawn Dawn Quartet, and also the Four Dukes, and he did lead on the Four Dukes' Rare 45 on Duke, their version of Crying in the Chapel. But he's doing lead here with the Victorians from October 1956 on the Selma label, the Victorians with Please Say You Do.
Please remind me to tell you, you're the one who can make me love only you. Oh, do you want me to tell you that I love you and you love me? Please say you do. I'm hoping but oh so madly love you 'cause you're so sweet. I need your love so badly to make my life complete. Oh, do you want me to tell you how I want you to love me as I love you? I'm hoping but oh so madly you're so sweet. I need your love so badly to make my life complete. Oh, do you want me to tell you how I want you to love me as I love you?
That's a Latin type beat there for the Victorians. It's on Morty Kraft's Selma label, October 1956. That's a tune called Please Say You Do. Please Say You Do. Love the 45s. Johnny G is featuring this evening. I love to hear that. Send me an email at vinyltreasures@aol.com. Let's continue. And last week's vocal opener was by a group known as the Chalets. They're out of Brooklyn, New York. That their lone release, a song called Fat Fat Mamio, is the side that I featured. Although it would come out on other labels, Dart Records and Music Note Records, but we're featuring the original on True Light here. The flip side's a nice ballad. A nice ballad features Willie Kalia on lead. This one from 1957. Give a listen to the Chalets on True Light, and their song's called Who's Laughing?
Who's laughing?
Who's laughing?
Who's crying?
Who's crying?
Who's
Lonesome and blue.
Who's pretending?
B-sides here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. That one there, 1957 Sound by the Chalets. It's on the True Light record label, the flip side of Fat Fat Mommy-O, song entitled Who's Laughing? Willie Kalia. He's the lead singer on that 45. John G here, continuing with the cool 1950s sounds from 1957. And this next artist, born in New Orleans, Louisiana on May 26, 1936. And I think he grew up, though, in Buffalo, New York. Now, his childhood ambition was to become a professional basketball player, and that never really panned out, but he also enjoyed singing. And on a hunch, he sent in some audition tapes to a talent scout in New York City that was working for Sid Nathan, was the owner of course, King and Federal and the Deluxe labels. And as a result, he was signed to a contract on a Sid Nathan's Deluxe label, a subsidiary of King, and the result were 8 singles. This is his second, and one he co-wrote. His name is Donnie Elbert. We go back to August 1957, Mr. Donnie Elbert on Deluxe with his tune called Believe It or Not.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Well, believe it or not, I'm in love, and I want you to be my lovey dove. Well, believe it or not, you got my heart, and it's been yours from the start. Well, you're going to be my baby some bright and sunny day. Oh, the day you come to me, you light my life in every way. Well, believe it or not, I've never felt this way before. Say that you'll be mine forevermore. Well, you're going to be my baby some bright and sunny day. Oh, the day you come to me, you light my life in every way. Well, believe it or not, I've never felt this way before. Say that you'll be mine forevermore. Well, now believe it or not.
Cool tunes here for a Saturday evening. That's Mr. Donnie Elbert. Donnie Elbert, August 1957, Sid Nathan's Deluxe record label, second of 8 on Deluxe, a song entitled Believe It or Not. And what I want to say about this guy, that he would have his biggest hit in 1971, believe it or not, on the all-platinum label. If you bought the 45 like your host Johnny G did a single all-platinum, a cover of the Supremes song, Where Did Our Love Go? I think that was his biggest hit. Unfortunately, that he passed away on January 26, 1989, at the age of 52. He died from a massive stroke. But he has some really cool tunes on a bunch of different labels through the years, and a favorite here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Let's continue now, and we are in the year 1957. Last week I played a group called the Colonnaires on the Ember label from April 57. I played the intended B-side of their 45 on Al Silver's Ember label. The song was called Sandy. Let's give a listen to the flip. And it's the intended A-side, co-written by the lead singer. His name is Henry Williamson. We go to April 57 for the Colonnaires on Ember. The tune is called Can't Stand to Lose You.
Darling, darling, don't say we're through. I can't stand losing you.
Yes, I'll love you till the end understand the way I feel. My love is only for you, and no one else will do. For my darling, I can't stand to lose you.
Darling, I know I was wrong, my darling, to overplay. Yes, to overplay my hand. But now, my darling, I am sorry, and I hope
You'll understand the way I feel. My love is only for you, and no one else will do. For my darling, I can't stand to lose you. No, 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 no. I can't stand to lose you.
April 1957 release there. Al Silver's Ember label, The Colonnaires. The Colonnaires, song entitled Can't Stand to Lose You. Henry Williamson, he's the lead singer. He was also the lead singer of the Sunbeams that recorded on Acme that great record called Please Say You'll Be Mine. That was my number one vote in the 1957 Relic Rack survey that year. When they played all those records. I don't know where it ended up, but it was not toward number one in 1950 of those titles from 1957. Anyway, John G here for a Saturday evening as we continue here. Let's move into 1958 now for this next artist. He's from Durant, Mississippi, and he wanted to be a boxer, but it never really panned out for him. Instead, his career turned to music, singing, and songwriting, and this is his debut single on a very odd label out of Pasadena, California, was called 4 Star Records, and believe it or not, there's more country, western, and boppers on that label than R&B 45s. But here's the B-side to his debut single and a song he wrote. This one from June of 58. It's by Jim Holiday and the Future Tones. It's on 4 Star Records. The song is entitled All I Want Is You.
I don't want the moon, don't want the stars, don't want Venus, don't want Mars. All I want is you. Don't want no gold, no diamond. Don't want no queen or any other girl. All I want is you. Oh, darling, why can't you see what you mean to me? I want to make you my wife. But if you should say no, where would I go? And what would I do with my life? No, I don't want the sun, don't want the sky. My heart would tell me when I look in your eyes. All I want is you. All I want is you. Tell me, tell me, tell me. Tell me you want me to. No, 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 no. No one else will do.
Sounds of 1958 here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. That's Jim Holiday and the Future Tones. It's on the 4-star label. Really oddball record on that 4-star label. June 58, All I Want Is You. That's actually the intended B-side. Now, Jim Holiday and the Future Tones, that Jim Holiday is really Jimmy Holiday. He also recorded as Jimmy Holiday, I think in 1961 or 62, with releases on the Everest, KT label, Kent label, Diplomacy, Tip, Dial, Minute, and others. And he recorded till 1970. And in 1963, he had, I think, his biggest hit. He had the original version of the song How Can I Forget? You might know the version as done by Benny King on Atco, but it was first done by Jimmy Holiday. And unfortunate that he passed away on February 15th, 1987 at the age of 53 of heart failure. But left us with some cool tunes. John G here for a Saturday evening as we continue. I know that Bopper Boy Warren loves this next song. I think he likes it, either the original or the cover. I'm featuring the cover here. This group out of Brooklyn, New York, you all know their biggest hit from 1958. First came out on the Amp 3 label, was then picked up by Mercury Records, of course, their big hit called One Summer Night. They had 3 more on Mercury. My favorite one by them is a song called I Really Love You, one that my aunt purchased by them, but that's their second. But this is their third. It's a cover, first recorded by the Elgins on MGM, but this is their version. It features Jimmy Weston on lead. We go to December of 1958. These are the Dan Lears on Mercury and their version of the tune A Picture of You.
Boom, 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 boom.
That's a cool tune there from December 1958. Cover song there by the Dan Lears, originally done by the Elgins on MGM. That's the Dan Lears version on the Mercury label. A Picture of You, Jimmy Weston, he's the lead singer. And I guess, I don't know, Hi-Fi Tim, he said he likes the Elgins better. I probably lean a little bit to the Elgins more, but I do like that one too. I haven't heard it in a while, and I decided to play it. Of course, the great group, the Dan Lears, other cool releases on other labels labels, Epic, Everest, Smash, and other labels. But Johnny G here spinning original vinyl 45s. We are in the year 1958. Here's a group from Clarksburg, West Virginia. They're really an 8-man group. We got to call it a band and group because they played their own instruments. Now, their debut single came out on Vivian Carter's Falcon label. It was a subsidiary of VJ Records, a song called Marsha, backed with another cool song called Judy. But they followed it up with this tune. Of course, it's not on Falcon because they were sued to change their name. There was already a Falcon label, so they changed it to Abner Records. And it features a cool guitarist by the name of Gerald Folio, and the lead singer, his name is Chuck Collins. This is the intended B-side of the 45. We go to August of 58. They're called The Prodigals. It's on Abner, and their tune is called Won't You Believe Me? No, or Won't You Believe?
Won't you believe that I love you? Won't you believe that my love is true? Won't you say that you love me? And in my misery, since you've left and gone away, won't you please come back and stay? I know I did you wrong, my dear. Please come back and grant me tears. Oh, my darling, since you've been gone, everything I do is oh so wrong. Won't you please come back to me? And in my misery, now you're back and I'm relieved. Some may doubt, but I believe that I would give my life for you. That's why I love you like I do.
Sounds of 58 here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Those are the Prodigals from August 58. Chuck Collins, he's the lead singer. It's on the Abner label, Falcon / Abner Records. So if you collectors that run the Falcon label, it changes to Abner, and that's a B-side. It's called Won't You Believe. Now, won't you believe that Johnny G only plays original vinyl 45s every Saturday from 10 to midnight, and that is the truth. So let's continue now. A few weeks ago, I featured the B-side of this 45 out of Los Angeles, California, by a group. They were called The Tramps. They had 3 releases on the RV label. I played the B-side of their third, a song called Your Love. But let's give a spin to the intended A-side, which is a cover. This song was first recorded in May of 59 by the Rivieras on the Coed label. And this cover version released 2 months later. It features Beeman Young on lead. We go to July of 1959 for the Tramps on RV and their rendition of the tune Midnight Flyer.
Decatur.
Midnight flyer, take me to LA. Midnight flyer, take me to
There'll be a whole lot of couples on the dancing team, and a whole lot of kisses that I had from you. Midnight flyer, be on your way. Midnight flyer, be on your way.
July 1959 release there. They're called The Tramps on the RV label out of Los Angeles, California. Their tune called Midnight Flyer. Now, Beeman Young, he also has a solo release. I don't know if I've played it here, but I do have that, his 45. Have to check that one out. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening on this cold, blustery night. Couldn't say that last night. It was a beautiful night last night in the mid 50s. Now it's down into almost going to be to the mid 30s tonight, they said, and we've got a chance of snow, hopefully not sticking. It can't stick. It's got to be too warm here. We've had some pretty warm days the last 3 days or so, but hopefully not. But anyway, let's continue. We are in 1959 here, and we stay in California. This group, sort of unknown, though. They only had 2 singles. Their first release came out on the Gaiden label in April of 59, a song called Novelty Tune. The A-side was called Nasty Breaks. I think the flip side is the better side. There's a Reason. I'm featuring the follow-up, which is on the Forte label, and says a division of Storm Records out of Hollywood, California. Now, when I see the publishing and you see House of Fortune Publishing, that tells me that this is a George Mottola related record. And of course his wife, Ricky Page, she gets writer credit on this, but the group kind of just disappeared, and so did this 45. Not an easy 45 to find. I posted it up on my Facebook wall, but let's give it a spin. From June of 59, they're called the Dandevilles. It's on Forte. The song is called Heavenly Angel.
Heavenly angel, say you be mine, you're my angel, all the time, for we'll be together till the stars fall in the night. That's why you're my heaven, my heaven, yes, you're my God. Together till the stars fall from the night. That's why you're my heaven, yes, you're my God. We'll take a stroll through the Milky Way. We'll light a star and find our way. Walk out of night and into day. We'll walk down heaven's highway. Heavenly angel, my heart's on fire. You're my angel, my one desire. We'll be together till the stars fall from the night. That's why you're my heaven, yes, you're my God.
Rare 45s out of California there. Those are the Dandevilles. June 1959 release, Heavenly Angels, the name of the tune on the Forte label. And House of Fortune is the publishers. That's a George Mottola composition. As we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show, two more 45s to go before we get into the year 1960. And this next group, they're from Akron, Ohio, and they have this lone release on Al Silver's Ember label. And the group included Ronald Mosley and James Porter. These two members would go on to become the Supremes that recorded on the Apt label back in 1960. You may know the tune Another Chance to Love. Then they added a gal in 1962 by the name of Ruby Nash, and she became the lead of the group, and they became Ruby and the Romantics. But way before Ruby and the Romantics, like 1959, at least two of the members were in this group called the Scarlet Tones, and this was their lone release. We go to June of 1959, the Scarlet Tones on Ember with their tune called Do You Remember?
Doom-a-nop-a-dub, doom-a-nop-a-dub-dub-dub. Do you remember the night when first we met? And I told you I never shall forget you, my darling. You'll be here in my heart. Here in my heart. You know I love you was all that I could say when it happened. I'd fallen all the way, oh my darling. You know I love you so. We were in love, love was ours. We were like two budding flowers, caught in the web of happiness. For your love, love, darling, is all I possess. Now that I have you, I love you more, even more, and you know it. Oh girl that I adore, say you love me and stay here in my heart. We were in love, love was ours. We were like two budding flowers, caught in the web of happiness. For your love, love, darling, is all I possess. Now that I have you, I love you more, even more, and you know it. Oh girl that I adore, say you love me and stay here in my heart. Do you remember when first we met? And I told you I never shall forget.
That's the lone release for the Scarlet Tones with two T's, Al Silver's Ember label there. June 1959, the Scarlet Tones with Do You Remember? I've never seen a stock copy of that 45. Anybody has a stock copy, that would definitely be pretty cool. Anyway, John G here, continuing here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Last record out of 1959. It's another flip side from last week's show. I featured a 45 on Mickey Marconi and Frank Zenobi's MZ label, MZ Records, out of Middletown, Connecticut. The group was from New Britain, Connecticut. They were known as the Crystal Tones. I played their 1959 release, song entitled Deborah Lee. But let's give a listen to the flip side of the 45. This one came out in late 59, as I mentioned. It features Rich Crisatello on lead. These are the Crystal Tones on MZ, and their song's called A Girl to Love.
Stars above this love
Those are the Crystal Tones. The Crystal Tones are out of New Britain, Connecticut. It's on the MZ label, late 1959 release, A Girl to Love. Flip side is Deborah Lee. John G here for a Saturday evening as we continue here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. We move into 1960 with this group from Boston, Massachusetts. Pretty sure you all know who this group is. They first signed to Frank Pappalardo's Casa Grande label, the label out of Woburn, Massachusetts. But you know their signature song from 1957, their cool tune called Happy, Happy Birthday Baby, which would be picked up by the Checker label, but they had 5 releases on the Casa Grande label. This is their 5th and final and somewhat a takeoff of their biggest hit, Happy, Happy Birthday Baby. It sounds a lot like that, but unfortunately, this one really didn't make it for them. It's with Frank Paul's orchestra. It features Margot Sylvia on lead. We go to July of 1960. These are the Tune Weavers on Casa Grande, and their tune is called My Congratulations, Baby.
Congratulations, congratulations. Ooh, my congratulations, baby. Thought I'd just drop a line. Just drop a line. Heard you're planning for the spring, church and everything. Hope it turns out fine. My congratulations, baby. Though I won't be around, still I hope your wedding day will be bright and gay with the love you find. Once we were lovers, remember, always together, building dream after dream. And then it happened, we parted. You found someone new. I cried, hope you'll both be very happy. How I wished it were me. Now there's nothing left to write. Hope your future's bright. My congratulations, baby.
That's the 5th and final release for Margot Sylvia and the Tune Weavers, at least on the Casa Grande label. They had other releases, came out on Leonard Chess's Checker label. That one there, July 1960, the Tune Weavers with My Congratulations, Baby. John G here for the Vinyl Treasure Show. We're here from 10 to midnight right here on Top Shelf Oldies. We're spinning 50s and early 60s now. We are in the year 1960. Now, this next song is also a cover, another cover originally recorded by Amos Milburn back in 1953 on the Aladdin label, but 7 years forward now to 1960, recorded by this pianist and singer from the state of Virginia. He also played and recorded with guitarist Charles Walker, but he had 2 singles on the CJ record label out of New York City. And we're going to go to November of 1960. Give a listen to Leroy Little. Leroy Little, it's on CJ Records out of New York. And his rendition of the tune, Let Me Go Home, Whiskey.
Let me go home,
whiskey. Let me walk out that door. Let me go home. Whiskey. Let me walk out that door. I got an order from my baby not to come home late no more. Stop by a place to see a friend of mine. Dropped in for a minute. You know I overstayed my time. Let me go home. Whiskey. Let me walk out that door. Let me go home. Whiskey. Let me walk out that door. I got all from my baby not to come home to no more. Well, why do whiskey make me lose my head? I'm sitting at the bar when I should be home in bed. Let me go home. Whiskey. Let me walk out that door. Let me go home. Whiskey. Let me walk out that door. I got all from my baby not to come home gone no more. Whiskey every morning. Whiskey every night. Long as I got my whiskey, you know everything's alright. Let me go home. Whiskey. Let me walk out that door. Let me go home. Whiskey. Let me walk out that door. I got all from my baby not to come home drunk no more. Let me go home. Whiskey. I got to go home. Whiskey. Turn me loose. A good whiskey. I got to go. A good whiskey.
There's a vocal group in the background there. That is for sure. Anyway, Leroy Little and some group in the background there, November 1960. CJ Records, it's out of New York City. His rendition of the Amos Milburn song, Let Me Go Home Whiskey. Remember buying that? Louis Silvani, he relocated, well, I guess his other satellite Times Square record store in Dobbs Ferry, New York. He rented one of the stores there. He eventually had to leave because it was too expensive. But I would go in there every Saturday and I would sit with his assistant, Glenn Fawzel, and I'd have my Kreider book and I would read titles out of the Kreider book and he would check them in the database. And so he'd say, yes, we got a mint copy for $475. And I'd say, well, it's in the book for $2. How could you be selling it for $4? He says, well, do you own it? And I said, no, but why do I have to pay more than double for the 45? He goes, because that's what the value is. I said, then forget it. I'm not buying it. I would have had to really, really want the record to overpay from the price guide. Although they say price guides are just a rough idea, because records can change like the stock market. That is for sure. But he had that record. He used to have always I wouldn't call it a cheapo bin because that cost me like $8. I think all worth $8, but he had that one and it was in the Kreider book and I didn't have it. So I ended up purchasing it. Anyway, John G babbling on here. Let's continue. Now, these next two 45s I'm playing are related in a way, I think, or so one of the books that I have, that California book says. So I need you to be the judge. So listen closely to these next two records. Now, I'm featuring the original version of this record as we go back to California. I posted this up on my Facebook wall. You can check out the record. It was my last post. It's on the Sabrina label out of California. Now, the group formed in LA's Fremont High School. The members consisted of the lead singer, baritone Carl Coates, along with tenors Thomas Turner and Donald Cook, baritone Johnny Williams, and bass Willie Muffetti, and the background falsetto was Ronald Eldridge, and this was their debut single on John Mariscalco's Sabrina label. And if you can find it, there is an air check where Alan Freed actually plays this record. It was a new record that came in, and he plays it and he announces it on the show. It's when he was a disc jockey on KDAY. It was sometime in 1960. It's out there somewhere because I heard it. But this is the original version here from October 1960. They're called the Marathons on Sabrina. It's called Don't Know Why.
Don't know why the willows cry. Don't know why the raindrops fall. I just know, darling, I love only you. I love only you. Don't know why the snowflakes fall. Don't care at all. I just know I can't go on without you. Maybe someday you will return. It may be a day in June. Oh, and if that day should ever come, I know it won't be too soon. Oh, I don't know why the roses die. Don't know why my heart must cry. I just know can't last much longer without you. No, 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 no.
That air check was pretty cool when you hear Alan Freed announcing that record by the Marathons there. October 1960, the Marathons on Sabrina, their tune called Don't Know Why. I bought that one from Seymour Simon. And Seymour told me, he said, Johnny, I'm selling you all these records. I'm going to want to hear it sometime on the Dan Romanello's Group Harmony Review. And I said, well, that is definitely not a possibility anymore. So I find out he's on Facebook, and I request him, and I don't know if he can see that this is one of your records, Seymour, that I'm playing. If you want to hear it, I'm giving you credit for it. I'll play all the 45s you sold me. That's one of them. Anyway, so if anybody knows Seymour Simon, tell him to accept my Facebook request. And I'm sure he'll remember all the cool tunes he sold me. Anyway, now you heard that side by the Marathons, October 1960. It's called Don't Know Why. It's on Sabrina. Now, in early 61, according to Steve Probst and Galen Gart's Los Angeles book, like those California groups, they think that group re-recorded the song as the Misfits. And if anybody has a good ear, maybe you can listen, because in a way it does sound the same, but then in others it doesn't, at least to me. Because last week I played the flip side of this. It was called Midnight Star. And so when I played the other side, it reminded me of this Marathon. So I said, let me do a comparison here of this Misfits record. So we're going to flip over that 45 I played last week on the Aries label from 61, Midnight Star. And this group is called the Misfits. It starts with an M. We heard the Marathons with Don't Know Why. These are the Misfits with I Don't Know.
I don't know why the willows call. Don't know why the leaves will fall.
I just know
I think the lead sounds the same. It does. So maybe they are the same group. They just re-recorded it. But those are the Misfits from 1961 on the Aries label. Their tune called "I Don't Know." There's no writer credits or anything on there. Don't even know if the publishing is on there. No, it just says BMI. Now, earlier we heard a record before from October 60, the Marathons on Sabrina with Don't Know Why. Now, Carl Coates, he was the lead singer. Interesting thing, if you go and look at the copy I posted on Facebook, and also those of you watching on the Ustream or the YouTube, I have a sticker on mine. It says Mel Coates, spelled the same way. So I wonder if either Carl was Mel or Mel is his brother. And I only say that because when I bought that record from Seymour, he told me he made trips out to the West Coast and he went to Ray Dobard's record store and would ask the girls at the counter to bring up records from the basement. So I don't know what it is, but maybe he knows, so he should get in touch with me. Anyway, Johnny G here, babbling on here as we continue. Let's move into, we are in 1961. Let's stay with another cover song. This one was first recorded by the Harptones on Bruce back in 1953, but it was never released until 1961 with the Oldies Revival. Bruce Records brought this one out of the can and released it. So it was happening at Times Square Records. Slim Rose, of course, very important with that. And it's a cover song. It's on the Adore label. It's produced by Sita Productions. When you see that, of course, you think of Raul Sita, who wrote the tune. So, again, he was instrumental originally with the Harptones and originally with this group called The Four of Us. It's from 1961. It's on Adore Records out of New York City, and their rendition of the tune, Loving a Girl Like You.
I was not told about loving a girl like you. Our hearts are young and love is new, and as for kisses, I've had a few. But I was not told about loving a girl like you. I went to school, passed all my tests, obeyed it true, along with the rest. But I was not told about loving a girl like you.
Without that, whoops, Johnny gets caught. That group called the Four of Us from 1961. It's on the Adore label. Their rendition of the Harptones tune, Loving a Girl Like You. Please, Mr. Tompkins, tell me what you think about that Marathon song, if they were the same anyway. Johnny G losing his mind, I am, as we continue here. Let's go back to the West Coast to a 45 on the Lily label, and for this female lead that goes by the name of, or this female that goes by the name of Mary D. Now, according to the Rockin' Records price guide, he says to look up Mercy D. But I don't think this gal is Mercy D. Maybe I'm wrong, but I disagree with the Rockin' Records, because why would she change her name from Mercy to Mary this late in the game? I mean, December 61 for this release. But it's a cool tune. I like this 45, somewhat of an unknown record from December 61. Mary D's her name. It's on Lily Records. It's out of California, and her tune is called The Big Dream.
I had a dream all about you. I dreamed that you said I do. I wonder, will the dream come true? We were walking down the aisle, the choir was singing, here comes the bride, and they always say that morning dreams come true.
December 61 release there for Mary D and some group or chorus in the background there. It's on the Lily label. Not many releases on the Lily label. I think like 10 or so, but that tune called The Big Dream. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening as we wind down here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. Now, on last week's show, I featured this great girl group on Zell Sanders' J&S record label out of the Bronx, New York. It was a later single as done by the Hearts. I played the side called If I Had Known. Well, let's flip that 45 over, as this side also features the lead of Miss Leslie Valentine from 1961. Give a listen to the Hearts on J&S and their tune called There Are So Many Ways.
There are so many ways you can tell someone that you love them. Someone you love them. There are so many ways
That's Zell Sanders, JNS record label, 1961 release for the Hearts. The Hearts with Leslie Valentine, she's on lead. Their tune called There Are So Many Ways. So many ways to tune in to Johnny G and the Vinyl Treasure Show. You can tune in live on Saturday nights on Top Shelf Oldies, live on the Ustream broadcast. You can also go to vinyltreasures.net. That's my website. You can stream or download the shows there. Or you can go to YouTube, Johnny G's Vinyl Treasures. Whole bunch of shows up there, but you're going to have to, you can listen in the background, but you can also see the 45s. And let's continue here. And back to a George Mottola related 45. This time we go to the Marquee record label. Most things on the Marquee label, most releases are really, really rare, except for one record that is common on that label. Not even the first press of it, but the second press. If you have a record by the Vows called I Want a Chance on the orange label, that is the most common record that you will find on the Marquee label. All the other ones are very difficult to find. I'm featuring one now by this group called the Heartbreakers, and I know the writers of the song, they were members of the group, Robert Tisby and Edward LeJay, because they wrote this tune and they were group members. As we go to April of 62, they're called the Heartbreakers. Their tune is called Since You've Been Gone.
Since you've been gone, I'm so alone. My heart is breaking. Since you've been gone, since you've been gone, I feel so bad. I'm going mad. I miss the fun we've had since you've been gone. I miss you so much, the thrill of your touch, the warmth of your sweet embrace, the smile on your face, your loving ways makes my heart beat at a pace. Since you've been gone, I'm so alone. My heart is breaking. Since you've been gone, gone. Since you've been gone, come on home. Give your little friend,
Rare California there on Marquee Records. George Mottola's Marquee label, I think that really was his label, April 62. The Heartbreakers, Since You've Been Gone. Now, you're not going to believe this. I was looking through the boxes, and I'm going, I have 2 copies of this record. It was like, when did I buy 2 copies of this 45? So this is an expensive 45, let alone to find. So my offer is I need the Cezannes on Marquee. So if anybody has a Cezannes, pardon me, on Marquee. Not the boot that looks really good. The boot, you can tell what's in the dead wax. That's for sure. But I need a nice, I need the record. I want, pardon me, by the Cezannes. I will trade one of my Marquee 45s, and they're both really nice. They are. There's some writing on both of them, but you can decide which one you want, but I will trade it for that record. I think that's an even trade. Johnny G here for a Saturday evening spinning original vinyl 45s. Let's continue here. We are actually in Vinyl Treasure Overtime, and last week I featured this 45 on the Cub label. I think, Warren, you said you will have this record and you like both sides of Mac Star and the Mellows, and I featured the side called Oh My Love. So why don't we give a listen to the flip side before I file it back down in the no humidity basement. Now, Mac Star is really Julius McMichael. He was the former lead singer of the Paragons on the Winley label. So let's go back to November of 1962. Flip over Oh My Love on Cub with Mac Star and the Mellows. And this is the flip. It's called Drifting Apart.
It seems so long since you and I built castles of love are high up in the sky. Oh, could it be that we're drifting apart? Well, it seems, oh Lord, so very long ago. Hey, yeah, since you heard me knocking lightly on your door. Oh, could it be that we're drifting apart? You know your lips, they really excite me. Oh, in your eyes, yes, Lord, they really delight me. Your tender, tender touch electrifies me. So please have a pity on me, because it seems, oh Lord, so long since you and I wished on a falling star, or speaking across the sky. Oh, could it be that we're drifting apart? Lord, it's breaking my heart. Hey, now we're drifting apart. Pretty baby, breaking my heart. Oh, hear what I say. Each night and each day.
That's a great two-sided 45 for Mac Star and the Mellows, a.k.a. Mac Star, really Julius McMichael, lead of the Paragons. November 62 release on the Cub label, Drifting Apart. Of course, Mac Star, he would join the Olympics for a number of years, was a member of the Olympics. Johnny G here doing Vinyl Treasure Overtime. Here's a flip side from a couple weeks ago, maybe more than that. I played a 45 by The Highlights. They're out of Danbury, Connecticut. Featured it on the Julia label. The song was called Gloria, My Darling. Let's give a listen to the flip side before I file this one back down in the no humidity basement. And it's another cover song, first recorded by Jerry Butler and the Impressions back in 1958. But let's give a listen to this rendition by The Highlights. It features Bill Tucker on lead. We go to June of 62. The Highlights on Julia and their rendition of the tune For Your Precious Love.
For your precious love means more to me than any love could ever be. For when I wanted you, I was so lonely, so blue, but love with you. Darling, I
Yes, Warren, have to agree. Another great two-sided 45 on the Julia record label. The group is out of Danbury, Connecticut. They're called The Highlights. That's a June 62 release, their rendition of the song For Your Precious Love. Bill Tucker, he's the lead singer. They have, their initial releases came out on the Record Fair label, have 2 releases on Record Fair, and they have a rare LP on Record Fair too. A lot of great cool cuts, but Val Shively released all those cuts on the album on his Monogram label. So you can get, instead of getting the album, you can get the Monogram 45s that Val put out, I don't know when, sometime in the late 70s maybe. Anyway, Johnny G here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime, and it was a lot of fun when I first started collecting. I found actually 2 records on the Al John label for 10 cents a piece. It was Ray and the Darshays, and the other one was this record on Al John. For this group from Asbury Park, New Jersey, started out by Ray DeRouge. His group was called the Darshays, and they were named after a meat packing company called Marcel Darshay, and they recorded as Ray and the Darshays on the Al John label. They also have a release on Buzzy. A Little Girl So Fine was the 45 I found for 10 cents. Flip side with Carol. The Buzzy one I got cheap somewhere else. But the other record that I found was by Ben White and the Darshays, and what a lot of people play, the side called Jocko Sent Me, Jocko being the disc jockey Jocko Henderson, but I'm playing the intended A side of the 45. Now Ray DeRouge and the Darshays are backing him up. Ben White, he is just an artist. I don't know if he's from the Asbury Park area where the group was, but it's on Al Brown's Al John label. It's from September 62. This is Ben White and the Darshays, and the name of the tune is called Nationwide, and then it's got dash stamps.
Bop, bop, nationwide stamps. Bop, bop, nationwide stamps. Bop, bop, nationwide stamps.
I'm saving all my nationwide stamps to get a present for you. I'm saving all my nationwide stamps to show my love is true. I'm hoping you'll be happy to get a present for me. I'm saving all my nationwide stamps so you will jump quickly. I'll get you something pretty that you can always keep, and when you look at it each day, you know my love is deep. I'm saving all my nationwide stamps to get a present for you, and when you see my present, I know you love me too. I'm saving all my nationwide stamps to get a present for you, and when you see my present, I know you'll love me too. Stamps, stamps, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, or go to your grocer for those stamps, nationwide stamps.
Somebody's going to have to educate me. Well, I know there was S&H green stamps. Is that what they're singing about? Nationwide stamps? Listen, call me a dunce, but Is that what they're singing about? If somebody can say, we're going to send that one out to Linda Gaeta because she knows Mr. Ray DeRouge, and he was singing in the background there. Ben White and the Darche, September 62. Nationwide Stamps is the name of that one. It's on the Al John record label, excuse me. As we continue here in Vinyl Treasure Overtime, this next group is out of the state of Massachusetts. They have 2 releases on the Demand label. This is their second, which was subsequently issued on Dot Records, and as we move into 1963, now they're called the Uniques, and I'm featuring on the Demand, the first label, and I like this tune. It's called, the official title is called Times Change, parentheses, but don't change your love. Then there's another parentheses within that, from me. So let's give it a spin.
Times change, we change too, and the things that we do, but don't change your love, don't change your love for me. All the things you are, keep them as they are. You were meant for me, and happy we'll always be. Darling, there's something special about us. It's something that words cannot say. And I know that it's this special something that keeps our love this way. Days change, nights change too. I'll never change my love for you. Please don't change your love for me.
Sounds of 63 here on the Vinyl Treasure Show. They're called the Uniques. Featured it on the original label Demand Records. Times change, that is for sure, but don't change your love for me. That's the name of the tune. 2 more 45s to go before Johnny G signs off here. And on, maybe about 3 or 4 Vinyl Treasure shows ago, I played the B-side of this 45, a song called Love, as done by Mabel King. Now, let's flip the 45 over and give a listen to the intended A-side, which charted regionally. This one was number 57 on KFXM out of San Bernardino, California. Now, the group that's backing her up, they're known as the Delta 4, and it's the second of 2 that she recorded on the Amy label. Let's give a listen to Miss Mabel King. Was the mother of Raj and what was it, D on What's Happening, if you remember that show from the 70s. And she was a singer. Her name is Mabel King, February 63 on Amy. The song is called When We Get the Word. That's the second of three from Miss Mabel King. February 1963 release. It's on the Amy record label. That's the A-side. A song entitled When We Get the Word. Well, you're getting the word right now. That's going to do it for Johnny G and the Vinyl Treasure Show. I want to thank you for joining Johnny G, listening to original vinyl 45s out of my collection. You want to get in touch with Johnny G, send me an email at vinyltreasures@aol.com. Also, you can check out my website, vinyltreasures.net. You can go there and stream or download the shows onto your computer. They're all there. They go actually further back than the shows that I have up on my YouTube account, Johnny G's Vinyl Treasures. But for you collectors out there, if you go to my YouTube account, you get to see all the cool 45s. I know a lot of you collectors do like that. If not, you can go get the audio. That is for sure. But that is going to do it for tonight's show. And we're going to close the show tonight with the flip side of the record I closed last Saturday's show with. I featured this group out of East Harlem. They were known as the Delmonicos. I played their tune You Can Call, featured Joe Cariotti on lead, from March of 63, where we're going to flip it over, give a listen to the B-side. It's on the AKU label, AKU Records, out of New York City. And this is from March of 63. It's the Delmonicos on AKU, and the song is called There They Go. And it's time for Johnny G to go. Please tune in tomorrow evening to my buddy Dave the Rave and his Relics and Rarities show right here on Top Shelf Oldies from 10 to... No, not 10. I'm from 10. He's from 9 to midnight here on Top Shelf Oldies, and all the cool shows during the week here on Top Shelf. And that's going to do it, folks. And I want everybody to have a safe and happy week. And thank you, Charlene, for all your help again. And I'll see you here next Saturday at 10 p.m. for more cool 50s and 1960s 45s out of my collection. Don't forget to do your taxes, those of you in the U.S. You got till the 17th. So you got some time. Well, that's going to do it, folks. Just want to say, everybody, so long.